Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about the role and influence Esther Peterson had on the women's rights movement. As most of you know, this movement's goal was for women to gain equality to men. Esther Peterson was the woman who would drive the Equal Pay Act into law. This all started with Peterson's firsthand experience with the Heartbreaker strike, which inspired her to fight for equal pay. Many of her students, whom she taught clothing labor to at the YWCA, missed class because they were out on the strike. Their company lowered their wages just because they couldn't sew the new heart-shaped pocket dresses as fast as the square ones. Peterson personally went to one of her students' homes to investigate the issue, discovering her family's difficult living conditions due to the lack of pay. And as she later said in a 1995 interview, she had to do what is right, let the consequences follow, making her want to create change. A few years later, she moved to Washington, D.C., earning her first government role in the Amalgamated Clothing Workers Union, whose purpose was to improve the lives and working conditions of clothing workers. She was this group's first female lobbyist, advocating for better wages, working conditions, and fair labor laws. In her first union lobbyist meeting, Peterson met John F. Kennedy, who was a new representative at the time. She got to know him while lobbying for an increase of minimum wage. According to Janet Martin, a government professor at Bowdoin College, she was, in essence, his tutor on the legislative process, showing him the ropes while he was still learning legislative procedure. Peterson continued fighting and took on a job as a lobbyist for the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, the largest federation of labor unions in the U.S. When Kennedy became president, he believed Peterson was the right choice for being the director of the Women's Bureau, a subdepartment of the AFL-CIO. It was also due to Peterson's influence that JFK established the President's Commission on the Status of Women. She also recommended Eleanor Roosevelt to lead it, and Peterson herself was the executive vice chairman. While the commission was effective in promoting equal pay, it didn't do much to pass it as an actual legislation. Rather, it was the Women's Bureau under Peterson's lead that would work to lobby a bill addressing the sex-based wage discrimination. In 1962, Peterson was involved in composing testimonies and convincing other lobby members of Congress to support the bill. As a result, her efforts finally pulled through, and the Equal Pay Act was passed a year later, making it the law to pay men and women in the same workplace equally. Esther Peterson was a key person in the women's rights movement because she influenced the law that protected women from wage discrimination, achieving a goal of equality. Today, the Equal Pay Act of 1963 is still a cornerstone of U.S. labor law and continues to make it lawful for women to have an equal wage to men. Anyone believing to be facing discrimination can file a complaint to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or even sue for violating this law. Although the wage gap still exists, Peterson's impact was still prominent since the wage gap was approximately 59 cents for every dollar before the Equal Pay Act was passed. Esther Peterson fought for this bill 60 years ago, but her legacy is still admired and inspires modern groups that continue to fight to close the wage gap.